I want you to look at this game and tell me what you see. You see a bright fuzzy animal, you see a little wagon, you see a world that looks like it was ripped out of a library book from your childhood. Your brain is probably telling you, okay, this is cute, this is for kids, this is simple. That is exactly what I thought, and that is exactly how Cozy Caravan traps you. Because underneath this adorable Saturday morning cartoon exterior lies one of the most satisfying, tactile, and deceptively addictive management loops I have played all year. It hooks you not with high-stakes stress, but with a weapon most games are afraid to use: aggressive, unadulterated kindness. Today, we are parking the wagon to talk about Cozy Caravan. This is a game that asks a very specific question: what if we took the trade routes of a complex RPG, the inventory management of a survival game, but stripped away every single ounce of combat debt and stress? Is it possible to have a grind that actually feels like a vacation, or does the sweetness eventually give you a toothache? Grab your brew, we have a lot to talk about. To understand why Cozy Caravan feels different, we have to talk about the philosophy of the cozy genre as it stands right now. For the last 8 years, basically since Stardew Valley took over, the genre has been obsessed with the concept of settling. You inherit a broken plot of land, you clear the rocks, you pull the weeds, you build a fence, you plant the corn, you conquer the space. The gameplay loop is almost colonial in nature. You arrive at a wild place and you impose order upon it until it looks exactly how you want it to look. You are the mayor, you are the architect, you are the anchor. Cozy Caravan rejects that entire premise. This is not a game about settling down, it is a game about passing through. You are a nomad. By casting you as a travelling merchant, a rookie in the guild, the game fundamentally shifts your relationships with the world. You aren't trying to change the towns you visit, you aren't trying to marry the locals or upgrade their community centre so they love you forever, you are simply a visitor. You roll into town, you offer your services, you spread a little bit of joy, and then, and this is a crucial part, you leave. There is a lightness to this that I didn't realise I was missing. In Animal Crossing, if I don't play for a month, my island is covered in weeds and my neighbours guilt trip me. In Cozy Caravan, the road is always waiting. There's no guilt, there is only the journey. This road trip energy permeates everything, changes the pacing, and changes the vibe. It makes the world feel vast and explorable rather than static and manageable. It taps into that wind in the willows or Moomin fantasy of simply packing a bag and seeing what is over the next hill. Now let's talk about the vessel for this journey. Because you are not playing as a generic human avatar, you are playing as an animal. The character creator gives you options. The axolotl is cute, the raccoon has that chaotic energy, but for me there was only one choice. I played as the otter. And I need to spend a moment on the animation work here, because 5 Live Studios has done something genuinely special. If you look closely at the otter when he runs, it's not a realistic run cycle. It utilises a classic animation principle called squash and stretch. When he hits the ground, he squashes down, when he pushes off, he stretches out. His ears flop with the physics that feel bouncy and heavy, his tail acts as a counterbalance. It creates this incredible sense of personality. You aren't just piloting a hitbox, you are inhabiting a creature that feels happy to be alive. The way he waddles is infectious, it's spirited in the truest sense of the word. I found myself smiling just watching him traverse the map, which is good, because you spend a lot of time looking at his back. This brings us to the visual language of the world. The developers have gone for a very specific look that mimics stop-motion animation. You might recognise this from films like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse or Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The world camera moves smoothly at a higher frame rate, but the characters animate at a lower frame rate, stepping on 2s or 4s. It gives everything a tactile, jerky, handcrafted feel, like claymation figures moving through a diorama. The environments themselves look like they've been painted with thick gouache brushstrokes. The trees don't look photorealistic, they look like illustrations. The lighting is perpetually stuck in this warm, golden, late afternoon glow that makes everything look soft. However, this visual choice is a double-edged sword, and we are going to talk about the technical downsides of that jitter later in the review, but purely from an artistic standpoint, it is stunning. It sells a fantasy that you are playing inside a children's book. Okay, the vibes are immaculate, but what do you actually do? This is where Cozy Caravan takes a risk. It removes the 2 pillars that usually hold up this genre, farming and combat. There is no combat, you cannot die, you cannot get hurt. There is also no farming, you do not own land and you do not till soil. Instead, the gameplay loop is entirely focused on processing. Forage, collect raw ingredients from the world, process, turn raw items into products via mini-games, sell, trade products for hearts and guild tokens, upgrade, buy better equipment to process faster. It sounds simple, but the magic is in the tactility. In a game like Skyrim or even Stardew Valley, crafting is usually a menu interaction. You walk up to a stove, a list pops up, you select apple pie and poof, it appears in your inventory. It is a transaction. In Cozy Caravan, crafting is an activity. Let's look at the chopping station. To chop a carrot, you don't just press A, you hold the button to raise the knife, building potential energy, and then release it to chop. You have to do this for every single item, chop, chop, chop. Then you move to the mixing bowl, you have to physically rotate the analog stick to stir the batter. The faster you spin, the faster it mixes, but you feel the resistance. Then the frying pan. You have to wait for the cue, then flip the pancake. There is a psychology concept here, the satisfaction of seeing someone do a job well. This game lets you perform competence. By making these actions manual, the game gives weight to the items. The apple pie isn't just a database entry, it represents 30 seconds of your actual time and focus. You chop the apples, you mix the dough, you bake the crust. It grounds you in the world in a way that menu-based crafting never could. And this is where the progression hooks you. At the start, chopping is slow, it takes 3 hits to dice a tomato, it feels kind of laborious. But as you earn guild tokens, you upgrade your stations, suddenly you have a sharp knife, 1 hit, done. You upgrade your mixing bowl, 2 spins, done. You genuinely feel your character getting better at their job. It transformed the gameplay from a slow, meditative process into a rhythm game. You start optimizing your movement through the caravan, grab apple, wash apple, chop apple, bake pie, shelf pie. It flows. It puts you in a flow state that is incredibly rare for a game with zero combat. The gathering side of the loop reinforces the kindness theme. You aren't stealing crops, you are visiting farms. You walk up to a cow NPC, you wave hello, and they are delighted to give you milk. You walk up to a frog farmer and he gives you crates of lettuce. The world wants you to succeed. There is no scarcity, the bushes regrow fast, the farmers always have stock. The game is constantly handing you resources and saying, here, make something beautiful with this. So you have a wagon full of freshly chopped carrot soup and apple pies. Now what? Now we enter the management phase. You park in a designated spot in town, set up your tables and ring the bell. This is where Cozy Caravan briefly turns into Overcooked, but without the shouting. Customers wander in, bubbles appear over their heads showing what they want. Your job is to grab the item and hand it to them before they do nothing, because they never get mad. This is a part that I found most interesting, and it's something I think will divide players. There is no gold. When you sell an item, the customer gives you hearts. Mechanically, hearts act as your experience points. They fill a bar that levels up your guild rank. Leveling up unlocks new recipes, new crafting stations, and new cosmetics. But you also earn guild tokens based on how happy the customers are. These tokens are the money you use to upgrade the physical caravan, making it bigger, adding more tables, or making your bee move faster. I have to admit, at first, I missed the gold. There is a primal part of my gamer brain that likes seeing a bank account number go up. I like the capitalism of Stardew Valley, and I like becoming a millionaire blueberry tycoon. Cozy Caravan denies you that capitalist fantasy. You cannot become rich, you can only become loved. To some, this might feel like it lacks stakes. If I can't fail and I can't get rich, why am I doing this? But after about 4 hours, I realized the genius. The lack of gold removes the optimization anxiety. I wasn't doing math to figure out which crop had the highest return, and I wasn't ignoring the carrot soup because apple pie sold for 10% more. I was making the carrot soup because the frogs in the starting village looked hungry, and I wanted to see the hearts fly up. It shifts the motivation from extrinsic to intrinsic. However, it's not perfect, and this brings us to the friction. Now, we have to put down the rose-tinted glasses, or in my case the Otter glasses, and talk about the reality of playing Cozy Caravan for 20 hours. Because as much as I love the vibes, there is friction here, and unlike the crafting, the friction is not the satisfying kind. Let's start with the elephant in the room, or rather, the jitter. I mentioned the stop-motion aesthetic earlier. When you are standing still, it is art, but when you are moving, it presents a technical problem. The game renders the world at a high frame rate, but the character animations are locked to a lower frame rate to mimic that claymation look. The issue is that the camera movement is smooth while the character movement is jerky. This creates a visual disconnect known as Jitter. Your brain expects the character to move smoothly with the camera, but instead they ghost across the screen. For the first hour I thought it was charming, by hour 5 I had a bit of a headache. It's a bold artistic choice, and I respect the commitment to the bit, but from an accessibility standpoint it can be genuinely straining. I really hope the developers add a smooth animation toggle in the settings. I know it breaks the aesthetic, but for some players it might be the difference between playing for 4 hours or playing for 20 minutes. Then we have the inventory management. For a game that is entirely about collecting things, the tools you have to organise those things are lacking. As you travel, you pick up everything: apples, flour, milk, wood, stone, frogs, don't ask. Your bag fills up instantly. And currently there is no sort by type button that actually works the way you want it to. There is no deposit all ingredients button when you are near a crafting table. You spend a significant amount of time manually dragging items around, trying to find that one bag of sugar you swore you picked up. This is where the cozy facade cracks. A cozy game should handle the boring stuff for you so you can focus on the fun stuff. When I have to fight a UI menu to find my carrots, I'm not relaxed, I'm annoyed. And finally, the repetition. The loop is tight, but it is also shallow. Once you have unlocked the top tier crafting stations, which probably happens around the 10-hour mark, the game stops evolving. You are doing the same chops, the same mixes, and the same sales in the final town as you were in the first town. There is no real end game until 1.0, no complex automation systems to build, no deep story mysteries to solve, you just keep going. For some, that meditation is enough. For others, you will hit a wall where you ask, is this it? And right now, the answer is yes, unless you're playing the 1.0 update. So how do we categorize this game? Because Cozy is a broad label that includes everything from farming sims to visual novels. If you are a Stardew Valley player, I need you to manage your expectations. Stardew is a game about optimization. It is about squeezing every second out of the day. It's about maximizing crop yields and memorizing villager schedules. It is secretly a stress game. Cozy Caravan is the anti-Stardew. There is no clock constantly ticking down your mortality. There is no passing out mechanic. If you want to stand on a bridge and watch the water for 20 minutes, the game doesn't punish you, it waits for you. It feels much closer to Animal Crossing, specifically the vibe of the early game. You know those first few weeks in New Horizons where you didn't have terraforming yet and you were just running around catching bugs and enjoying the island? That is Cozy Caravan. But the most accurate comparison is actually a short hike. Both games understand that exploration is a reward in itself. The map in Cozy Caravan is surprisingly dense. There are hidden chests, secret shortcuts, and little environmental storytelling moments, like a family of ducks crossing the road, that serve no gameplay purpose other than to make you smile. It captures that specific feeling of a childhood summer afternoon. You have nowhere to be, you have nothing to do, you are just outside. So after rolling my wagon across the entire map, upgrading my bee to maximum speed, and feeding croissants to half the animal kingdom, is Cozy Caravan worth your time? The good? The aesthetics. Unmatched, it is a living storybook. The loop? Tactile crafting is addictive and satisfying. The vibe? Genuine, unforced kindness. The bad? The tech. Character jitter can cause eye strain, and the depth. Inventory management is clunky, late game is repetitive. This is a game I recommend with a specific caveat. If you are looking for a main game, something to sink 100 hours into with complex systems and spreadsheets, this isn't it. You will bounce off the simplicity. But if you are the burned out gamer, if you just finished a 100-hour RPG, or you've been grinding ranked matches in a shooter, or life is just incredibly loud right now, this game is a balm. It is a palate cleanser for your soul. It reminds me of why I started playing games in the first place, not to win, not to dominate, but to play. To inhabit a world that is softer and kinder than our own. I mentioned at the start this looks like a game for kids, and in a way it is. It lets you feel like a kid again, it lets you play with your food, wave at strangers, it lets you believe that the world is a good place. And honestly, I think we could all use a little bit more of that. Cozy Caravan is available now in 1.0 on Steam. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on if there are any updates to the roadmap, because if they smooth out the technical jitters and add a bit more depth to the late game, this could be a genre classic. I want to hear from you in the comments. When playing cozy games, do you prefer the settler style of building a base, or this nomad style of travelling forever? I read every comment, so let me know down below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps the channel more than you know. I've been JT, and I'll see you in the next one.